All right, we are recording. Hello, everyone. My name is Paige. I am a registered dietitian and culinary educator here at Boston Medical Center, and I'm coming to you live from my own kitchen, my own teaching kitchen in my house. And we are making a really cool recipe today. We're going to be making some quick, easy homemade pita with a nice tzatziki sauce. This was a really yummy recipe, and I think it's perfect for, when the weather is super hot out, maybe not to necessarily, bake your pita, but to have as like kind of a cold sandwich. I know when it's hot out, it's nice to have cold dishes instead of eating hot things. So I'm excited to share this all with you today. If at any point you have questions, feel free to unmute. But like I said, we are recording, so if you need to keep it in the chat, that's fine. We are going to go ahead and start today's lesson with making our dough. So I'm cutting the recipe in half for those of you who might be cooking along with me or just following along. I will go ahead and put the recipe back in the chat because I know a couple folks have been talking in the chat. There it is if you missed it in the sign up link. This is a really great recipe because we are using Greek yogurt to help make our pita bread. And that's really cool for a lot of reasons. One, it's going to add some extra protein and nutrition to our bread. And we're also using whole grain flour, which is going to add some whole grains, B vitamins, all that good stuff, and fiber to help keep us full longer. So I wasn't too sure about how this would taste or how it would work out. I was very pleasantly surprised to how the pita turned out. So we're going to go ahead and start making our dough. I'm going to add, like I said, I cut this in half. So I'm going to add a half a cup of whole wheat flour. And then I'm going to add half a cup of Greek yogurt. I have this brand here. Oops, I'm upside down. Any brand will do. Sorry about that. I recommend Greek yogurt over normal yogurt because it has a bit more of like an acidic tanginess, which is really important for this baking and for our tzatziki sauce. Whether you use, 0% fat or you like to do something that is whole milk, that's totally up to you, but I would stick with the Greek. Let me get the rest of this yogurt off. All right, and then the last ingredient is some baking soda. So I'm gonna add about 1/8 of a teaspoon. All right. We'll go ahead and mix this. Get this out of the way. Awesome. So I wasn't quite sure when I first made this recipe how this was going to work with using Greek yogurt as a leavening agent, but I kind of looked into it and I learned that you can actually cook with things like Greek yogurt because they have an acidity level that will work with the baking powder to create its own leavening agent. So instead of using something like yeast to leaven this, the baking powder and the yogurt kind of work together. I'm going to get in here with my hands. Going to make it combined. I see a comment in the chat here. Is this a healthy recipe? I think healthy is a loose term that sometimes people can get caught up on. So I always like to say that things are super nutritious. So I would say this is a very nutritious meal. We are getting lots of nutrients from these whole grains, from this Greek yogurt. And when we actually make our tzatziki sauce, again, we're getting some good protein. And we're going to be adding lots of veggies. So we're getting lots of vitamins and minerals. Very nutrient dense. Very delicious, simple sandwich. You could even use your pita if you wanted to kind of, make your pita and then cut it into chips. You could do that. All right, here is our, oops, I'm going to go ahead and mute. We got some background noise. For those of you who are just hopping on, just make sure you mute yourself because sometimes your Zoom might default to not mute. So that way there's no background noise, please and thank you. But you can see here we have this beautiful little round ball of dough. It's not super sticky. The next step of this would actually be to put it in the fridge for about an hour. So obviously we don't have time to wait. So I made another dough. And I will be honest with you all. I used a different type of Greek yogurt. I used a full fat Greek yogurt. And you can see my dough is a lot more loose. So I'm curious to see how this changes my final product. I usually like to be super transparent with everyone on here. Sometimes I make things and they don't turn out very well, and that's okay. And this is a learning experience. It's here to show you that even people who cook for a living make mistakes, and that's okay. This will be my third time making these, so I am still very intrigued to see how this turns out. All right. I floured my surface here. We're gonna work our dough a little bit. You can tell this is softer.
Bill, when the giants that we are fighting owns everything that we're trying to disrupt.
I see. Someone says, I'm the only one who isn't seeing what you're doing. I'm only seeing your face. Is everyone seeing my face and my hands, or is only everyone seeing my face?
Oh.
I can see face and
Oh, I'm seeing everything.
Okay. I'm not quite sure. Maybe depending on, oh, only your face.
Only the face.
Only the face.
Let's see. I will remove.
Are those people on a cell phone? Sometimes they have to swipe to get the other screen.
Thanks, babe. That was good. I got it.
Is that helping folks on a cell phone?
I turned mine in the opposite direction and I'm still not seeing it, but that's okay. I can, I could listen in.
Yes.
Swipe to the next screen. I could see everybody else
Oh.
at home and you.
How about now? Is that better if I just remove me from the spotlight as well?
Oh, yes, I can see it. I am seeing it now.
Perfect. Okay, that's more important than my face. We don't need to see my face.
Different sizes though, because it was 13 at low. For the large size, I got $13.
I'm gonna mute some of you.
Arts.
I think someone else is unmuted.
Dress.
Background noise. Just gonna mute. Okay. This is tricky to work on my computer with these hands. All right. I'm gonna go ahead and roll this out. Running out of space. All right. So because I cut the recipe in half, the recipe usually makes about 4 pitas. I'm gonna just cut this guy in half before I go ahead and roll it out. I can tell that this whole milk yogurt is definitely making a stickier product. All right. I also learned when I made these, first I made a thicker pita, which because of how thick I made them, they were cooked, but not to my liking. I like when they're a little crunchier and a little more well done, I guess I would say. So you can make them as thick as you want. If you make them a bit thicker, just be aware they might need to cook longer. I see the directions have 8 to 10 minutes. I kind of start at 8, just kind of look at them with my eyes, give a little visual inspection, and then I'll check it again. I think I let them cook last time about 12 minutes. But like I said, I used a different type of yogurt, so we'll see. These might take longer. These are definitely more malleable, so they're softer. Perfect. All right, that's looking good to me. I have a baking sheet or cooking sheet here with some parchment paper. I'm gonna go ahead and throw these in the oven. Gonna give my hands a quick wash. All right, so now we're gonna make our tzatziki sauce. Got to get some of the flour off my keyboard. Okay. Let's wipe off our workstation and then we will move on. We got to do some veggie chopping and make our delicious sauce. All right. For those of you who come to my healthy habits class, this is going to sound familiar to you. I'm just going to do a little review of knife safety. I think that's important to just develop some good knife safety skills. I always sometimes need a little reminder and I teach it. So my go-to tip for those of you out here, when you have a cutting board that slides around, sometimes cutting boards that are plastic have plastic rubber rims to keep them in place, but my wood one here you see can very easily slide back and forth. A way to help mitigate that is that after you wash your hands and you have a damp paper towel, make sure it's really damp, but it's wrung out, and you can lay that down, lay it underneath your cutting board, and it helps secure your cutting board. This has saved me multiple times from chopping all my fingers off. I kid you not. This has been a savior because sometimes I don't think about it, and I'm handling a very sharp knife and it slides, and we want to keep our fingers. So this is it doesn't cost you any money, super easy, quick, just secure that cutting board. Knife handling. Sometimes folks use their finger. That's not really great knife control. It's very easy that it could slide to one side. So I like to show you pinch and wrap. You have better control. If you don't always cut like this might feel kind of odd, but I promise it will become second nature. So if you're not quite sure, you want to take your thumb and your forefinger and pinch and then wrap. Other guiding hand, we want to have our bear claw, so our fingers curled underneath. I heard someone one time call it an eagle claw, which I thought was really funny. So your eagle claw or your bear claw to hold your produce to protect your fingers. If you have your fingers out like that, doesn't look good, right? You might chop something off. So little bear claw, you can secure your food, good safety. I always err on the side of slow and safe than fast and crazy, because sometimes I've seen people chop really quickly. I don't feel that confident in my chopping skills to really chop like that. So I like to just take it slow and easy. So we're going to make our sauce, and how we're going to do that is we are going to chop up our cucumber. I am making the sauce. Like I said, I'm cutting the recipe in half, so this will be a lot smaller. I'm going to chop my cucumber. When you are working with your knife, you don't want to, sometimes you can chop up and down, like when I do a rough chop of herbs, but you want your knife to go tip to back and rock, tip to back. So, and sometimes I just get my fingers out of the way too, if I'm like, that could be a close one. I'm just going to check again. I need to make sure everyone's muted. All right, we are good. I heard some background noise. All right. I'm going to go ahead and dice these up, depending how finely chopped you want them. I want these a little bit finer, so I'm going to just have these again. When I cooked this recipe for my last class, I had the perfect pita bubble. And if you're someone who eats pita often, you'll know what I mean by that, is that it just created this beautiful bubble and pocket that my sandwich fit right in. My other attempt did not bubble up so nicely, so it kind of was more of an open face sandwich. So we shall see. Either way, it's delicious. It doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to work for you. All right, adding my cucumber. The recipe called for some fresh dill. Didn't have any, didn't want to buy any. So you are always welcome to use dried herbs. Sometimes if you're cooking with dried herbs to activate their flavors, you might want to bloom them in oil, meaning you want to, heat up your oil on your saucepan and kind of let them start to heat up. When you're cooking with something like this, like a sauce, it's going to be immersed in, whether it's an oil or an acid, the yogurt, to help spread it around and get that flavor. I tend to find dried herbs to not be as strong depending what it is. So I usually add a little bit extra to your discretion. If you don't love dill, you can add less. If you love dill, you can add more. I think this would be really yummy with some mint as well. Gonna grab the garlic real quick. I just glanced at the pita and I see some beautiful pockets forming. So hopefully in about 5 more minutes, they should be ready. I do not feel like dealing with garlic. I'm gonna use powdered garlic. On days where I want to keep things low stress, low effort, I usually default to powdered herbs or dried herbs. Just keeps things quick and simple. And to show you that you can make a healthy, nutritious, delicious meal with very minimal effort and very minimal time. All right, and now we have a lemon here. I like to kind of roll my lemon to kind of soften it up, cut in half. I have a lemon zester or a lemon juicer, I'm sorry. But I'm gonna be honest, I hate doing more dishes, so sometimes I just squeeze it over my hand. I can rinse my hand off. I prefer that over having to wash a lemon zester. All right. Perfect. Gonna give this a good stir. I'm gonna salt and pepper it, fresh cracked pepper. I love pepper, so I usually just measure as much as I feel looks good. Some salt. Now we are going to add it to our yogurt. I have some yogurt in my bowl here. I'm gonna add the cucumber and lemon. What am I looking for? My olive oil. I'm gonna add some oil. Beautiful. I'm gonna check the chat. Yes, so this is the same. You can tell this is a little bit, I say looser, because it's a whole milk Greek yogurt. So I think it's like not as firm. I actually made my Greek yogurt. I found a recipe to make homemade Greek yogurt in a crock pot where you take whole milk and you get it up to a certain temperature and then you let it sit and then you mix in a cup of just already made yogurt you bought from the store that has no like flavoring or anything in it. And then you cover it with some towels and let it sit overnight and it makes Greek yogurt. And you can buy like cheesecloth and you can strain it. So that's what I did. That's why I'm not quite sure how this is going to react. I'm not a professional yogurt maker, but I saw it on Pinterest and I thought that seemed pretty cool and really easy. You can look up homemade Greek yogurt in a crock pot if you have a crock pot and you think that's interesting. I thought it was pretty cool. All right, we have our sauce here. Now let's cut up our fixins for our sandwich. If you had some leftover chicken or I think even like some smashed up chickpeas to add a protein to this would be delicious. We're gonna do some more cucumber. Let's do some red onion, some lettuce, and I have a beautiful, ooh, what's that? A little sticker, heirloom tomato. I think we'll do a little bit of red onion. I smell my pita cooking and it smells so yummy. I'm gonna do some slices. You can fill your pita with whatever you want. We are gonna fill it with some tzatziki and these fresh veggies. Like I said, if you wanted to add some protein, like chicken or chickpeas or lamb or ground beef, whatever you want, that would be great. These pitas are gonna have a little bit more protein than maybe your typical pita because we are making it with that Greek yogurt. I was skeptical, but I'm telling you, it worked out pretty well. All right. The recipe called for spinach. I had some lettuce. Figured I need to use up. I'm shredding it up. All right, beautiful. this beautiful heirloom tomato. For those of you watching, is there something that you would add to this that I don't have out? Would you add a different vegetable or maybe a different protein I didn't mention? If you want to put it in the chat, you are welcome to do that. Nothing? All right, that's really fine. I think I would maybe add some smashed chickpeas. Someone says chickpeas. Does adding chicken make it taste different? I think adding chicken would add some more texture to it because these are a lot of crunchy, soft veggies, whereas chicken is a little bit more firm. If you like chicken and you want to add it, you totally can. You don't have to. You could even add hummus instead of chickpeas. Red pepper. Ooh, quinoa. That would be yummy, especially if it had the nice pocket from how it cooks. That would be amazing. Tofu, yeah. I would do maybe little tiny tofu cubes. I tend to make my tofu cubes bigger so I can grab it with a fork, but maybe some tofu crumbles or like smaller cubes so that way it sits nicer and you get more of an even bite. Speaking of filling our pita, let me go and check on it. All right, it's almost ready. I'd say 2 more minutes. And then this dough that we made together, I'm gonna go ahead and pop that in the fridge. So let's talk a little bit about fiber and why we want to choose whole grains. So you can usually buy pita that's like made out of white flour or enriched flour, or you can buy it with whole grain flour. And why might you choose to do that? So one of the main benefits you're going to get from choosing a whole grain product is that fiber. And why should we eat fiber, you might ask? Well, it's great for lots of reasons. And there's 2 different types of fiber, but to boil it down to you, it's good for a couple of main things, regardless of the type you're consuming. It's going to help us go to the bathroom more regularly, which, especially if we're not eating consistent amount of fiber, we really need. It's going to help us feel full longer. So it's going to help us, have that sensation of satiety in meals. For example, you might eat a muffin and it was delicious. It was maybe, high in sugar, a little bit more calorie dense, but you might still be hungry after you eat that muffin. It didn't have a lot of fiber per se, versus if you ate a whole grain muffin with some more fiber, you might get that feeling of fullness quicker, which is one of the reasons, not only because it's going to help us go to the bathroom more regularly, it's going to help bulk up our stool. It's going to help us feed our gut microbiome. So it's going to be really important for gut health, and gut health is important, I think, really, truly for anything else in your body. Really, really impactful to get lots of sources of fiber. And you're going to get fiber from things like whole grains. So like in our pita, you're going to get fiber from things like non-starchy veggies like we have right here. You're going to get fiber from beans and lentils and all of those wonderful things. So that's why I find recipes, oops, someone's unmuted, recipes like that to be more nutrient dense because we're getting things like fiber. Our whole grain flour is also going to give us things like B vitamins, which are really great for our body and our metabolism. So there's not a bad reason to choose whole grains. I sometimes choose to eat white bread that is not made with whole grains. It's all about moderation and finding what fits and choosing these foods more often than not. Checking the chat. Thank you, Marianne. You can pan fry it. I'm choosing to bake it. Pan frying makes me nervous because I feel like it never internally cooks as quickly as it fries on the outside. But if you are, someone who you definitely can. Does someone have a question? I hear someone's unmuted. Nope. Maybe? Okay. Can you use rice flour? That is a great question. I'm not totally sure. And I think the same person had asked me earlier about gluten-free recipes, and I'm sorry I did not acknowledge that. I'm not quite sure about the cooking properties of rice flour, but I do know that you can get like white flour that is gluten-free that I think is similar in baking properties. I'm not sure. Sometimes certain flours aren't always equal because what makes them different is like their protein content, which can impact how they interact with other ingredients and the density of your product. Like you wouldn't want to use all-purpose flour for a cupcake. You would want to use cake flour for a lighter, fluffier product. So I'm not quite sure if that would be an equal swap, but you could try it. I think that would be the best solution, is to give it a try and see. It might just be dense. Yeah, of course. I'm going to check on the pita really quick. All right. What do we think? They popped up a little bit. I didn't get a beautiful air bubble, but I do see some bubbles underneath. I'm going to take these off my baking sheet and let them cool. We can cut one open together. It was risky business cooking with my oven today because of how hot it is outside. Let's check the back of them. Looking good. Honestly, I think I needed to roll them a little flatter or cook them a little longer. I like them a little crunchier, but I think these are perfect. And I think my lighting is a little dark, so let me turn on my overhead light so you can get the full effect. There we go. That's probably a little better. Sorry about that, folks. How would the pita work on the grill? I think what you would need to do is to bake it or fry it and finish it on the grill. I actually don't know. It depends. My grill is like a smoker grill, so it functions best at lower temperatures if you like set it and forget it. So I would have a horrible time trying to cook this on my grill. I think you could do it. I would just kind of try to get the temperature at 400 degrees and put it back towards where the heat is more consistent. Oh, I'm so sorry you missed the dough recipe. Yes, Marianne shared it. Thank you. You didn't miss much. All we did for the dough recipe is that we added our whole wheat flour, we added our Greek yogurt, and we added our baking soda, mixed it together. And then you let it sit for an hour in the fridge. I kind of have my guy sitting over here. It probably should go in the fridge, but I do not have it in the fridge at this moment. All right, let's see. How do I want to cut this guy without moving all my beautiful produce? Let me cut him to the side here. Nice warm pita. Ooh. All right, so this guy didn't fluff up enough, but it's like a beautiful, it's fully cooked. I think I might like this more. Again, it's not like puffed up like I've had pita before. I bet I cooked it a little longer it would, but this looks like it's soft. I'm excited. So I could either do a sandwich like this. I'm gonna just do like a little open sandwich. Has anyone made pita before? Anyone familiar with pita making, or is this new for most of you? I'm new to pita making. I'm intrigued how easy it is. I always hate buying buns or like hot dog buns or rolls because I feel like I have to buy a 12-pack and I can never eat them that quickly. So this is a really quick like sandwich bread recipe I can whip up. Can you use the knife to cut a slit in it for filling? We can give it a try.
But look at something he's doing real quick. Okay, you gotta learn how to sleep. I'll be right back.
Yeah, I guess you can, Marianne. That was a good suggestion.
Let's see.
Just gonna check the chat. Okay. Perfect. Okay, we have a couple folks saying it's totally new for you. Great idea. Used to making it, use baking powder, yeast. For those of you who are new to it, are you intrigued to try it at home? I probably wouldn't have made pita unless I chose this recipe to make it, because I thought it was too hard, but I was pleasantly surprised.
I'm not much of a baker, but I give it a try.
Great. That's what I like to hear. It's super simple.
Yeah, I'm not when it comes to baking, yeah, it's just not my thing, but it was really easy to make.
Yeah,
And I like pita bread, so I definitely try it.
I love that. And like I said, I find that I'm always, things are spoiling quickly and then I, don't know how to use them. So you can kind of control how much of your yield. Like I made 2 pita breads. Now this is a tiny little pocket. Marianne had a great idea to cut it open. She's very smart. I don't know how much I can fit in this, but that's okay. Maybe we'll do our tzatziki. I probably should have put some tzatziki on the bottom. Ooh, someone wants to make naan bread. That would be a fun one. All right, I'll keep that in my mind as I did schedule the next 3 months of classes, but we can always add. I love that. I want to make naan bread. I love making naan bread pizzas. All right, look at this cute little pita pocket. I'm so excited. I think I can get some more stuff in this. And I'm going to add more tzatziki. All right. Now, moment of truth. Taste test. This is really good. I got tzatziki all over my mouth. Couldn't let you see that. I think I put just enough lemon juice without making this tzatziki too tangy. And like I said, you can play with it. I don't have enough pita to use all this, so a nice beautiful dip. This is a perfect recipe for summer because something like tzatziki is a really beautiful Mediterranean staple dip that's meant to be simple but elevated based off of seasonal flavors. So if you need to adapt this to add more things, like I think this would be delicious with some extra like mint or more dill. I think this could be really yummy with some shredded carrots if I wanted to really bulk up my veggies. I think this could be a really nice protein-rich substitute to hummus. If you're someone who doesn't like hummus. It kind of reminds me, and I'm sure some of you out there are ranch lovers. I'm a ranch lover. It reminds me of like an elevated tangier ranch. And a little bit more dill. That's phenomenal. I know I got it all over my mouth last time, but one more bite. And then I see we have some questions. Super easy. Perfect summer recipe. Okay, let's check the chat here. Some garlic naan bread. That would be, I know I have a class scheduled. I can't remember if it's Well Sense or Healthy Habits to make pizza with homemade pizza dough, but naan bread would be a beautiful dough that's very versatile. What is the healthiest, most nutritious bread to eat? I'm trying to stay away from too much bread to reach my personal weight loss goal. I'm wondering which bread is best for weight loss. Great question. Thank you for asking. Hard to answer in a short amount of time, but kind of going back to the big question of, is this a healthy recipe? You want to prioritize things that are filling, but like lower in calories when you're trying to achieve weight loss. So for example, non-starchy veggies are very water dense and fiber dense, but not super high in calories or carbohydrates. So they're really wonderful to fill your belly on because that's what makes us feel like, content that we ate enough. And we're getting lots of vitamins and minerals to help us, achieve that weight loss goal. Also choosing things that are made with whole grains because they're going to give you that feeling of satiety is really wonderful. And those are things that we want to choose because we tend to overeat because we're hungry or other reasons. Obviously, eating is very, personal. Sometimes I eat a whole bag of cookies because I just don't know why. And that's just the reality of being a human is sometimes you just want to eat because you just want to eat. But choosing things with whole grains is going to help give you that feeling of satiety. Choosing things that are higher in protein. Bread isn't necessarily a high protein option, but it is important to get carbs in your diet. When it comes to choosing bread, my advice is to kind of just look at the serving. When you're going to make a sandwich, you're going to use 2 slices of bread most of the time. So kind of just look at the size of the bread. Sometimes you can get smaller slices, sometimes you can get bigger slices. Maybe just kind of check out, is it made with whole grains? Great. Is it going to give me some fiber? Great. You're also going to get a little more protein when you choose things that are made with whole grains, but then also what you choose to put in your sandwich is just as important. So there is that advantage to choosing whole grains because you are going to get that satiety and that nutrition. So that's my long answer short. I guess that was kind of a long explanation, but this would be a perfect sandwich bread. You made it at home. It's a little higher in protein, whole grains, or I'm trying to think, I think it's at Arnold. Just like a whole wheat bread brand that I can think of off the top of my noggin. Having a nice turkey sandwich, getting some good protein in there to help you feel full. Oh, okay. Let's check this chat. Looks good. How do you make hummus? Hummus is made from chickpeas. You usually add some tahini, which is sesame seed paste. I had to think about that for a second. And you can add whatever flavors you want. Like I made roasted beef hummus. You can just use some like dried garlic powder. But it's usually those 2 foundational ingredients. I have not perfected making hummus. I am still working on perfecting my hummus texture. I usually make it and it's really chunky, but I still love it anyways. Ooh, add hot sauce. That's a great point. And I bet you could even add hot sauce to your tzatziki to give it a little spice or some jalapeno. Great point. Can you use the dip as a chip dip? Yeah, 100%. I probably will use this as a chip dip. I have tortillas, I have pita chips, like actual crunchy pita chips, or potato chips, all of that. Veggie dip, like this would be a perfect complement to something like veggies, or if you're a potato chip person, because it's going to give you protein, and veggies and potato chips, all of those types of crunchy things don't usually have a lot of protein. So it would be great. It's going to help you feel full longer and make it more satisfying. Ooh, Tusi has used this before for her zoodles. That would be yummy. Just checking through here. Tips about protein, how you fill up more with it. Yeah, so actually, protein, so we have carbs, protein, and fat are our macronutrients. Protein is supposed to be the most satiating nutrient, meaning the one nutrient that's supposed to make you feel full the most. I have found that everyone's experience with that is different, but my best advice is for nutritional purposes and meal balance, you always want to have that protein source at each of your meals. Looking at the Harvard plate or the USDA My Plate, there's a place for protein on your plate. But adding it to things like, in your snacks, if you're going to have some veggies with a protein rich dip, say you want to have a clementine for a snack, maybe add a cheese stick. Adding protein is really going to help that snack balance itself up. It's going to make you feel full longer, and it's going to help prevent the carbs and whatever you eat from spiking your blood sugar and then crashing. So protein is really, you don't need to overdo it in the protein. I find a lot of people think they need to have 60 grams of protein at one meal or in a shake, whatever. You don't need that. Try to trickle in some extra sources of protein. Should you drink a glass of water before eating to feel fuller? I think that could be advice that works for some folks. I am a volume eater. So for example, I love when my tummy feels full and I crave that feeling. So something like this with lots of fiber and low calorie, starchy, non-starchy veggies are great for someone like me because I can just keep eating these until I feel full. If I drank too much water while I was eating, I would get uncomfortably full. If you're someone that you find to overeat in the things that are calorie dense, like potato chips, French fries, and you don't feel that urge for maybe something like this, you could try to drink a glass of water to give you that full feeling. You always want to make sure you're eating enough calories. And if your goal is weight loss, to do it in a sustainable manner, or it can become too rapid, and then you might have some nutritional deficiencies and fall down a rabbit hole. But it kind of just depends. That could be some advice that works for some and not for others. Cauliflower flour, maybe. Yeah, you could totally try that. Like I said, I'm not quite sure how it would react with the Greek yogurt. But I mean, hey, if the Greek yogurt works with the whole wheat flour, I can't foresee it really changing the product too much. Ezekiel bread, yeah, that is a sprouted grain product. Sometimes when things are sprouted, they're a little easier to digest, but it probably has a good amount of fiber and protein as well. Ooh, in the sauce, cauliflower in the sauce. That would be good. Sorry about that. You could use, there's also cauliflower flour. I know someone asked about gluten-free. Use that also.
¿Me escuchan? Sí. 30 segundos para.
Hi, I meant the hot sauce in the sauce itself.
Yeah.
Not in the sauce that you made.
Yeah. No, I think it would be great in anything. I think you could add it in all of these things that I made to give it a little spice and more flavor. That was a great suggestion. Thank you for clarifying. Sorry if I misunderstood.
That's
okay.
Where would you get cauliflower flour from? I don't know. I've seen it sometimes at Walmart. Depends how advanced the gluten-free section is of your grocery store. I think Walmart has really stepped up their game, but I haven't seen it recently. Ooh, Deborah had pork for dinner with green beans. You feel full and good. Awesome. You got some non-starchy veggies in there and a good source of protein. Sometimes that you feel hungry, you are really thirsty, so drink some water. Yeah, I've also learned that it's really hard. When you're feeling physical hunger, you should eat, but sometimes that hunger signal can be misinterpreted as you're dehydrated or you're bored, which I myself am trying to pay more attention to because I work remotely. I oftentimes might find myself needing more than one snack, and I think I'm hungry, but I ask myself, am I hungry or am I bored? Do I need to go for a walk and then decide if I need a snack to get out of my space? And I go for a walk, or I go outside, and I usually tend to not need that snack. Not for any other reason other than trying to be more mindful about when I choose to eat. Like I said, I'm a volume eater, so I could eat all the snacks that are in front of me. So yes, Tusi, that's a great point. Ooh, okay. Cauliflower flour is found at Job Lot, Trader Joe's, and Whole Foods. Awesome. Perfect. I figured it was out there somewhere because I know that that's usually like there's cauliflower crust pizza. The gluten-free options have really stepped up recently. Well, it looks like we cruised through those questions. I'll go ahead and I'll end the recording in case anyone else has any other questions.